The night was thick with tension. The dinner party had ended, leaving behind empty glasses, half-melted candles, and the lingering scent of wine and expensive cologne. Emily leaned against the counter in her kitchen, her fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the strap of her dress. She wasn't sure if it was the alcohol or something far more dangerous that made her pulse race. A soft knock at the door. She hesitated, inhaling sharply before opening it. Daniel stood there, his gaze heavy, his breath uneven. "We shouldn't," she whispered, though she made no move to step away. Daniel exhaled a quiet chuckle. "We already are." He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. The air between them crackled as their gazes locked. The first kiss was slow, testing. His lips brushed against hers, his hands skimming the small of her back. Then, restraint shattered. She moaned softly as he pressed her against the cool marble countertop, his hands gripping her hips. The dress slid up as his fingers explored her skin, their bodies pressing tighter, the heat between them unbearable. Across town, in the dim glow of a hotel suite, Sarah gasped as Michael's lips trailed fire along her throat. "Tell me you've wanted this," he murmured against her skin, his hands gripping her waist as he pulled her onto his lap. Her fingers tangled in his hair, her breath uneven. "I have," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Their bodies moved together, lost in the kind of passion that only secrecy could fuel. Neither couple knew they were mirroring each other's betrayal at the exact same moment. The morning light felt like judgment. Emily stirred, the sheets tangled around her as she stared at the ceiling. Beside her, Michael's slow breathing was steady, oblivious. She swallowed the guilt and forced herself up, slipping into the bathroom. As she washed her face, her phone buzzed. "Daniel, last night was dangerous. We need to be careful." She closed her eyes, gripping the sink. Too late for that. Downstairs, Michael was sipping coffee, scrolling through his phone. He barely looked up when she entered the kitchen. "Late meeting?" she asked, voice casual. Michael smirked, taking a sip. "You could say that." Emily's heart pounded. He's lying too. At brunch, the four of them sat together, forced smiles hiding the truth. Sarah kissed Daniel's cheek. "You were out late last night." "Work." Daniel's grip on his coffee cup tightened.
"Yeah."
"Late meeting." Emily nearly choked on her mimosa. It was the same excuse she had given Michael. Across the table, Michael slid a hand onto Sarah's thigh under the table, squeezing lightly. She smiled but avoided his gaze, her mind flashing back to the night before, the heat of his body against hers, the way he had whispered her name in the dark. None of them knew they were playing the same game. The first betrayal was an accident. The second was a choice. Emily's hands shook as she unlocked the door to the empty apartment. She knew he was already inside, waiting. The moment she stepped in, Daniel was on her. His hands were in her hair, pulling her head back as he kissed her fiercely. She melted against him, her body arching as he pressed her against the wall. "I can't stop thinking about you," he groaned, his hands sliding up her thighs, lifting her dress inch by inch. Her nails dug into his back. "Then don't." Meanwhile, in a dimly lit bar across town, Sarah gasped as Michael pinned her against the restroom door, his breath hot against her ear. "This is dangerous," she whispered, gripping his shirt as he trailed kisses down her collarbone. "That's what makes it so good," he growled, his hands roaming her body, pulling her against him. They lost themselves again and again, unaware that they were playing with fire. The walls were closing in, but neither couple cared, yet. Lies never stay buried. One evening, Emily noticed Michael staring at his phone too long, a sly smile playing on his lips. Suspicion crept in. "Who are you texting?" she asked, feigning indifference. "No one important," he shrugged, setting his phone down. Her stomach twisted. Liar. At the same time, Daniel watched Sarah applying red lipstick in the mirror, adjusting her dress before heading out. "Where are you going?" he asked. "Dinner with friends," she replied without turning around. But her perfume was stronger than usual. The way she had dressed wasn't for friends. That night, while she was in the shower, Daniel hesitated before picking up her phone. His blood ran cold as he read the message. I can still feel you against me. When can I have you again? His grip tightened. Everything was about to fall apart. The truth came out at a dinner party. Michael left his phone on the counter. When it buzzed, Emily's curiosity got the best of her. She picked it up. Her hands trembled as she read the messages. The words were undeniable. The times, the places, they matched her own betrayals. Across the room, Daniel's gaze darkened as he watched Sarah lean into Michael, whispering something in his ear. Too familiar. Too intimate. Then everything shattered. You've been cheating on me? Emily's voice cracked as she held up Michael's phone. Michael's face drained of color. Emily, You don't get to talk. Daniel's voice cut through the room like ice. He turned to Sarah. You've been screwing him, haven't you? Silence. Sarah's lips parted, but no words came. Then, her expression shifted. You're one to talk, Daniel. I saw your messages with Emily. Now it was Emily and Daniel's turn to go pale. The room exploded into chaos, yelling, accusations, shattered glasses. No one was innocent. No one was forgiven. Emily knew it was a mistake. As she stood in the dimly lit hotel hallway, her heart pounded against her ribs. She should have turned around, should have gone back home. But Daniel was waiting inside, and just like before, the pull was stronger than the guilt. She knocked once. The door swung open. Daniel didn't hesitate. He pulled her inside, pressing her against the wall, his hands gripping her waist. I told myself this was over, she whispered, her fingers already undoing his shirt. You knew it wasn't, he murmured against her lips, lifting her onto the bed. Their bodies collided, their hunger too strong to resist. The sheets tangled around them as they lost themselves again in a haze of heat and whispered sins. And then, a sound. The door. A sharp, audible click. Emily's body froze. Daniel's grip on her tightened. Slowly, their gazes turned toward the entrance. The hotel room door was wide open. Standing in the doorway, eyes wide with shock and fury, were Michael and Sarah. Time stopped. Michael clenched his fists, his jaw tight with rage. Sarah's face was unreadable, but her breathing was uneven, her chest rising and falling in rapid succession. Emily scrambled for the sheets, covering herself as if that could erase what had just happened. Sarah stepped forward, her heels clicking against the tile. How long? She demanded, her voice cracking. Daniel swallowed hard. Since the night at Emily's apartment, he admitted. Sarah smirked and pulled out her phone. The screen displayed a recording. Michael's breath hitched. You recorded this? Sarah smiled coldly. Oh, I think we're done here. She turned to Michael, offering her arm. Shall we? Without another glance, they walked out together, leaving Daniel and Emily frozen in their own mess. Please subscribe for more.